George Kooymans, the legendary guitarist and co-founder of the iconic Dutch rock band Golden Earring, has passed away at the age of 77. His family confirmed that he died from the complications of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, a cruel and degenerative neurological disease that slowly robs the body of muscle control. He had been battling the illness since his diagnosis in 2020, and though the fight was silent and dignified, its ending is nonetheless heartbreaking. His passing marks the end of an era, not only for his loved ones and bandmates, but also for countless fans across the world who were forever changed by the music he helped create. His family released a statement to the Dutch news outlet AD, saying, "We say goodbye to a great musician and composer whose work reached far beyond Golden Earring. George was a beloved husband, father, grandfather, but above all, a friend." To try and summarize a man like George Kooymans in a few words seems nearly impossible. He wasn't just a guitarist or songwriter, he was an architect of sound, a poet of rhythm, a visionary who fused raw emotion with sonic mastery. His guitar didn't just play notes, it told stories, conjured images, ignited emotions. Over the course of 5 decades, he carved a place for himself among the greats, even if he never courted the spotlight as aggressively as others in the rock world. Golden Earring may have been born in the Netherlands, but its reach extended far beyond. Their music touched the hearts of listeners in America, Europe, and beyond, standing as a testament to what dedication, creativity, and sheer passion could achieve. Golden Earring's drummer, Caesar Zuderwijk, who spent a staggering 50 years side by side with George on stages around the world, offered a quiet, heartfelt tribute. "What we want now is silence and to remember everything he did. I played with him for 50 years, and that was the best time of my life. I'll leave it at that for now," he said. Sometimes silence says more than any song could. For a band that spanned more than half a century, Golden Earring was anything but fleeting. They were thunder on vinyl, a scream in the silence, a roar from the lowlands of Europe that found its way into the hearts of millions. Though they experienced massive success in their home country of the Netherlands, where they were revered as musical royalty, they also broke through international borders with electrifying anthems that still ring out from radios, jukeboxes, and car speakers today. Their most well-known track, Radar Love, released in 1973, was an instant classic. With its hypnotic bassline, scorching guitar riffs, and a driving beat that perfectly mirrored the song's lyrical theme of high-speed obsession, Radar Love didn't just top charts, it became embedded in rock culture. It was more than a song. It was a ritual for road warriors, a soundtrack to rebellion and freedom, a metaphorical highway to the soldat. In 1982, Golden Earring struck again with Twilight Zone, a track that blended new wave, progressive rock, and radio-friendly hooks into a commercial powerhouse. It peaked at number 10 on the US Billboard Hot 100, an impressive feat for a European band in a competitive American market. 2 years later, When the Lady Smiles continued their momentum, proving that they were far more than a one-hit wonder. These were craftsmen of sound, capable of adapting without losing their soul. Yet, despite the acclaim these tracks received, it's Radar Love that remains etched into the rock canon as one of the greatest driving songs of all time. Rolling Stone's Rob Sheffield, in a retrospective review of Golden Earring's 1974 album Mutinin, praised the song's impact. This song was responsible for 80% of U.S. speeding tickets in 1974. The rest were caused by taking care of business, he quipped, highlighting the song's near-mythic status in pop culture. It remains one of the all-time coolest driving songs with hypnotic bass and white line fever poetry. "I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel, now there's an opening line." That line, delivered with grit and urgency, encapsulated everything that made Kooymans and Golden Earring so compelling. The immediacy, the storytelling, the emotion that made listeners feel like they were riding shotgun on a journey that had no destination, only feeling. The story of George Kooymans began in The Hague, Netherlands, where he was born and raised. A curious, imaginative, and deeply introspective soul, he found companionship in music from an early age. As a teenager, he joined forces with his childhood friend Rinus Gerritsen, and together they formed a band initially known as the Tornadoes. The two were inseparable, united by a passion for American rock and roll and a dream to create something that would outlast them both. That dream evolved into Golden Earring. The band would go on to release their debut album Just Earrings in 1965, the same year that rock music was beginning to explode across the globe. The timing couldn't have been better. The band quickly found success on the Dutch singles chart with tracks like Please Go and That Day, setting the stage for a historic rise that would see them defy time, trends, and even geography. Golden Earring remained astonishingly consistent over the next 5 decades. While many bands faltered under the weight of fame, internal tensions, or shifting musical tides, Kooymans and his bandmates adapted and evolved. They never tried to chase the flavor of the moment. Instead, they doubled down on what made them unique: their chemistry, their honesty, and their refusal to water down their artistry. By the 1970s, they had become one of the most successful Dutch rock acts of all time. Their 1974 album Mountain, which included Radar Love, was not only a commercial success but also a critical triumph, cementing their status as Europe's rock ambassadors. George Kooymans was the band's secret weapon. While his lead guitar work was often the centerpiece of their songs, it was his songwriting and vision that gave their work its soul. He wasn't afraid to get dark, to get vulnerable, to ask uncomfortable questions through music. His compositions were layered not just in instrumentation but in meaning. Whether he was singing about longing, rebellion, love, or existential doubt, there was always a thread of honesty in his voice. You could hear the years, the scars, the joys, the regrets. The band's final studio album, Tits and Ass, released in 2012, proved that even after half a century, they hadn't lost their edge. The album debuted at #1 on the Dutch album charts, a testament to their lasting connection with fans. It was raw, unapologetic, and quintessentially Golden Earring. After that, they released one more EP titled The Hag in 2015 and a final single, Say When, in 2019. Then, as if sensing the curtain was closing, they went quiet. When Kooymans publicly announced his ALS diagnosis in 2021, the band confirmed what many had already feared: Golden Earring was no more. The diagnosis not only ended his ability to perform, but brought a close to one of the longest-running rock bands in history. But endings do not erase impact. George Kooymans may be gone, but his music remains. It blares from speakers in dimly lit bars. It plays on highways at midnight. It whispers through headphones during long walks. His spirit lives on in the chords, in the lyrics, in the memory of every person who ever found solace, excitement, or meaning in his songs. He was a craftsman, a storyteller, a friend to all who knew him and all who knew his music. In the end, George Kooymans was more than a member of a band. He was a symbol of resilience, creativity, and authenticity in a world that often rewards flash over substance. He stayed true to his roots. He never sold out. He let the music do the talking. And now, in the stillness that follows his passing, we hear that music even more clearly. We feel it more deeply. We remember not just the man, but what he stood for: his wife, his children, his grandchildren. His family mourn a husband, a father, a grandfather. His bandmates mourn a brother in arms. His fans mourn a legend. And somewhere in some quiet corner of the world, a kid picks up a guitar, plays the opening riff to Radar Love, and doesn't even realize they're keeping George Kooymans alive. As the sun sets on his journey, it rises for others who will discover his legacy anew. That's the power of true artistry. It doesn't fade. It transforms. George Kooymans may no longer be with us in body, but his presence is everywhere, in the echo of a power chord, in the rush of a chorus, in the pause between lyrics. His was a life well played. And now, with love, respect, and a heavy heart, we say goodbye to a giant of rock, a soul of sound, and a man who gave the world music that will never die.